Vitamins and minerals, vitamin B6. This is the next water-soluble B vitamin that we will be discussing, which plays a role in energy metabolism. Here we see the various forms of vitamin B6. You can see there are 3 non-phosphorylated forms and then 3 forms that are phosphorylated with a phosphate group attached. And basically for each of these pairs, see we have the free form and then the phosphorylated form. So we have pyridoxine, we have pyridoxine phosphate. We have pyridoxal, pyridoxal phosphate, pyridoxamine, and pyridoxamine phosphate. And we can see the abbreviations for each. So PN for pyridoxine, PL for pyridoxal, PM for pyridoxamine, and then you can see their corresponding phosphorylated versions and their abbreviations. You can see the pyridoxine is the alcohol, pyridoxal is the aldehyde, and then the pyridoxamine is the amine form. We'll see for which form that will be present in different food sources. Additionally, we'll see what will be the most functional form in terms of the processes of energy metabolism. We're going to find that PLP is the functional form that will play the most significant role in the various functions of energy metabolism for vitamin B6. Here we see the various food sources of vitamin B6, so we can obtain vitamin B6 from foods from various animal products and also plant-based products, so grains, vegetables, some fruit, and nuts. We can see that the animal products will contain pyridoxamine, pyridoxamine phosphate, pyridoxal and pyridoxal phosphate, and then the plant-based forms will contain the pyridoxine and then the pyridoxine phosphate. Next, we'll see the processes as it relates to vitamin B6 digestion and absorption. So in the process of digestion, if you're consuming the phosphorylated form, so PNP, PLP, or PMP, during the process of digestion, that phosphorylated form will need to be dephosphorylated and yielded the free form, and the free form, like the other B vitamins that we've discussed, is the form that will be absorbed. We see that vitamin B6 is absorbed by passive diffusion in the jejunum, and then once entering the enterocyte, it exits the enterocyte through the basolateral membrane and into portal circulation. Once circulating in the bloodstream, vitamin B6 in its various forms is taken up by the liver, and in the liver it's converted to PLP, so it converts either of these free forms to the pyridoxal and then the pyridoxal phosphate. Again, we discussed that the PLP form is the form that is going to play the most significant role in the various processes of energy metabolism that we will discuss further. Once converted to PLP and then circulating again in the bloodstream, it's going to be circulating as PLP bound to albumin. So the protein albumin will carry PLP through circulation. The liver is the main organ to metabolize vitamin B6, so that's going to be similar to a lot of the other vitamins and minerals as well as the macronutrients. However, in terms of the storage of vitamin B6, it's going to be stored primarily in the muscle, and in the muscle it's going to be bound to glycogen phosphorylase, and we're going to see in terms of its functions that it actually plays a significant role as a coenzyme to glycogen phosphorylase, and so we see that occurring, and it has implications in terms of its storage as well, being primarily in the muscle. So vitamin B6 has various coenzyme roles. So like we saw with biotin, so biotin is a coenzyme. There are a number of biotin-dependent enzymes. So it's the same with vitamin B6. There's a number of coenzyme roles that vitamin B6 will play, primarily in the form of PLP. What's interesting and unique about vitamin B6 is that a lot of its coenzymes roles are going to be related to processes of metabolism of protein and amino acids. So we're going to see it plays a role as a coenzyme for transamination reactions, particularly as it relates to these transaminase enzymes. So we see glutamate oxaloacetate transaminase, glutamate pyruvate transaminase. Additionally, we're going to see that it has a coenzyme role for decarboxylation reactions. It's not the decarboxylation reactions that we've discussed as it relates to, for example, the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex converting pyruvate to acetyl-CoA. That's a key decarboxylation reaction, but these are different decarboxylation reactions. So in reactions, for example, in the formation of GABA, serotonin, histamine, and dopamine. So these are actually also related to pathways and processes as it relates to amino acid catabolism. Also, we see that vitamin B6 in the form of PLP plays a role in deamination reactions. So we've seen this previously, for example, in the section on proteins, some of the examples of deamination reactions. Also, again, transamination reactions, we saw PLP present as a cofactor. So we know that a deamination reaction is removal of this nitrogen group. It's released as ammonia. So B6, again in the form of PLP, will be involved in those processes. Also cleavage reactions, and then again we mentioned with glycogen degradation, so it's going to be required for the activity of glycogen phosphorylase, particularly in the muscle. There is a significant non-coenzyme role. So the previous roles of B6 in the form of PLP primarily were coenzyme roles, but there is another significant or notable non-coenzyme role to mention as it relates to vitamin B6, again in the form of PLP. We see that it plays a role in steroid hormone action, and actually the strength of the effect of a steroid hormone can actually be affected by PLP. So PLP, you can see it reacts with lysine residues on the receptor, which actually interferes with the hormone binding to its receptor. And this actually diminishes the actions of particularly these steroid hormones. So the receptor protein mediates nuclear uptake of steroid hormones, and so it's affecting that receptor activity, thus reducing actually the effect of the steroid. So that's an interesting non-coenzyme function, reducing the action of steroids. We'll see the RDA for vitamin B6 for men, women, and then in pregnancy and lactation. So the RDA for adult men is 1.3 milligrams. For women, it's also 1.3 milligrams. And then you'll see it slightly higher in those over 50. And then in pregnancy and lactation, in pregnancy it's 1.9 milligrams. And lactation, it's 2 milligrams per day. The RDA, you can see here about 1 milligram is similar to the RDA that we saw for thiamine and riboflavin. Deficiency of vitamin B6 is rare, but you can see the deficiency symptoms or conditions related to the low vitamin B6 status. So it's going to be increased prevalence of, you'll see the deficiency at higher rates in the elderly, alcoholics, and those taking certain medications, particularly that may affect vitamin B6 absorption or metabolism. A key deficiency symptom is this hypochromic microcytic anemia. So this hypochromic microcytic anemia refers to kind of these two descriptors are referring to the red blood cell itself. So microcytic means that this type of anemia yields smaller red blood cells, and then hypochromic refers to pale. So with the hypochromic microcytic anemia, it leads to smaller red blood cells that are more pale in color. With vitamin B6 deficiency, we see also impaired niacin production from tryptophan. So the steps of reactions converting tryptophan to niacin involves vitamin B6 in the form of PLP. So with vitamin B6 deficiency, of course, you'll have lower conversion of tryptophan to niacin, potentially affecting niacin status. Also, we see that vitamin B6 deficiency inhibits the metabolism of homocysteine. The tolerable upper intake level for vitamin B6 is 100 milligrams per day, so that's going to be significantly higher than the RDA, which is about 1 milligram. So the UL we see here is 100 milligrams per day.